Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bazil. Welcome to WildStar Wednesday. Scribble out Wednesday, add Thursday because, yeah. This week, I'd like to actually go over rating and my first impressions on it, and a little bit of drama involving Voodoo leaving, and then we did have Enigma come up and say, hey, we're not going to leave, here's why. So I'd like to kind of go over that a little bit and just kind of give you my impressions on rating as a whole, as someone that joined a guild recently and then getting kind of thrust into doing the attunement process really quickly and getting frustrated with that and all that fun stuff. So let's get right onto the topics. So I'd like to go over first the attunement process and just kind of real quickly reiterate my initial thoughts once again. I think the attunement process is extremely lengthy and is very, very frustrating, mainly because of the bugs that I endured, mainly due to world bosses and the RNG factor that really is stupid and should not be in an attunement process whatsoever. The main reason I say that is because world bosses don't really do anything. There's no point to killing any of them. It doesn't teach you to be coordinated as a group. It doesn't teach you really anything because everyone just zergs it, kills it, and then moves on, and the raid disbands. There literally is no point to world bosses for the attunement process. Same with rep grind. I don't know why that's in there. I will never understand why anyone puts a rep grind in an attunement process where the rep doesn't get you anything at the end. Cool, you can have some cool cosmetics and some a mailbox and some stupid stuff. So I think that in terms of the attunement process, it's just not a good gate to have, and it was really frustrating. The world bosses were so buggy it took me a month to finish them because a lot of the times I wouldn't get credit for them. A lot of the times R12 would spawn the same boss, 14 times in a row, and I just would never get the boss I need. The Rolls Bowl bugged out every time I did it, so I finally gave up, and I have yet to do it again because they haven't fixed it yet. And the last boss that I tried to kill 3 times bugged out, which I have a video on. And it just kept resetting over and over and over again. And supposedly they fixed, but they obviously didn't. And this kind of stuff is really, really infuriating. And I can see why people leave. I can understand the frustration that people have and just go, you know what, this game's not worth my time, and they quit. And I understand that. I understand, and I know that Carbine is working hard and doing these kind of major fixes and making sure that the game runs well takes a lot of time. A lot of effort, a lot of hours, a lot of stress, and I completely understand that. I really do. But when the game is this far along in the release and we have guilds like Voodoo quitting, that's a problem because they are a hardcore raiding guild, and they are one of the top raiding guilds in the world for WildStar next to Enigma. And to have them say it's not worth it, that is a big deal, Carbine. That is not good. And now Enigma did say that there's a lot of problems, and they pointed out that the game has the best rating in MMO history and all this really cool stuff. The LA system is fantastic, and yes, there's bugs, and yes, there's this, but I want to say that it is a big deal for Voodoo to quit. Mainly because if you have people that are that dedicated to try and get world first on a brand new IP MMO that no one knows anything about, and quite frankly, most of the gaming world probably could give 2 craps about in terms of the MMO world, because it's all about WoW, it's all about it's all about the show, and to have players that want to commit to something different other than World of Warcraft, that's really big. That says a lot about what Carbine has done. And Enigma has confirmed that. Carbine, you guys have done a fantastic job. The way your game flows and the way your game actually moves in terms of combat is 100%, without a doubt, no takebacks skill. There's no RNG in the combat whatsoever. There's no Karazhan meteor bullshit. There's none of that crap. And when we get to the point where we have top-end guilds saying it's not worth it, these bugs are ridiculous and need to be fixed, and we don't understand why they're not being fixed, and we don't want to wait for them to be fixed. You guys need to seriously sit down and go, we need to fix this, and we need to make sure that these things are fixed, and these things are not released or re-released buggy. There was a post that Carbine did admit that their QA was not good and is being reworked and fixed. And that's very encouraging because I'm going to be honest here, their QA is really, really bad. It is not in good shape. They miss a lot of things. Drop 2 really killed the PvP population. In fact, it's pretty much non-existent right now. Arenas are in a horrible spot. And there is just a lot of bad surrounding the game. And again, Carbine, I'm not saying this to be extremely negative, and I'm not saying all of this to, ride the bad train. This game's terrible. I'm still subbed. I still play. I'm rating. I'm enjoying it, and we'll get to my impressions here in a second. But I wanted to really reemphasize the fact that having a top guild quit is really bad, and you guys need to fix your QA yesterday. You guys need to fix all this stuff very quickly because it's going to get to a point where you fix things and it's almost going to be too late, and no one's going to want to come back because it's like, oh, well, it's not worth it. It's not worth my time. And we have Warlords of Draenor coming out, and I understand that people are going to be like, well, that game's bad and blah, blah, blah. But if you guys want to compete with that game, I want to see some legitimate improvement on the patches that you guys release and stop breaking things. Because a lot of the stuff that happens when patches come should not happen. Should not ever happen. Like the medic bug. Not sure how that actually got past QA, to be quite honest. But I think that we are at the crossroads of, will WildStar survive, and can it actually go the long distance and compete with World of Warcraft? Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. And that is a good thing, because we have a guild like Enigma saying that this game is one of the best that they've played in years. That says a lot, Carbine. That means you guys have something really, really good. I completely agree with that statement. You guys have the best MMO I have played since probably Vanilla WoW, Burning Crusade, World of Warcraft. Just the amount of skill needed is fantastic, and it feels really good when you kill something. And I haven't gotten that feel in a long time. Even the mini bosses in Genetic Archive, even the trash, it's really hard. When you kill it, you feel like you accomplished something, and that goes to my impressions. So my guild is Impact on Purgo, and led by a really, really good guild leader goes by the name of Church with 2 H's. And he runs things very well. And we do a DKP system, which I'm not a fan of, but he does it very fair. And, it's not like, I'm going to go 300 DKP on a hat and I can't use it. No, it's a fair system. And I was a little turned off at that at first, but he ran it and runs it so good that it's not really a problem. So in terms of the way loot's distributed, it's a very good way. You guys have mass looting down, Carbine. I mean, it works, which is great. So in terms of like the overall raid, it's very fluid and it's very easy to understand what is going on in the midst of a lot of spell effects. Now, on the flip side, there are certain bosses and certain mini-bosses and creatures that it's very hard to see from a melee perspective. We struggled a lot on the gigantic mutation, I believe was what it's called. The mini boss. One of the mini bosses you have to kill to get to X89. And he spawns eggs and all that kind of stuff. And our problem is engineer bots kept killing the eggs and spawning a bunch of eggs, and it would completely screw our pathing up. So that was really frustrating because we would get him down to like 17k and the whole group would just die because the eggs just spawned everywhere, and it wasn't good. And we're like, okay, can engineers desummon their bots? And nope, they can't because it ruins their DPS and yada yada yada. So in terms of bugs, it was a little frustrating, and I can see where some of the top end guilds are coming from, where some of that stuff hasn't been fixed yet and really should be fixed. So my impression of that was a little kind of low and kind of disappointing. But then we got into the whole team fight aspect of raiding, and you could definitely tell the skill cap needed to actually perform the fights well and perfectly. It wasn't, okay, stand behind the pillar, go this way, stand behind the pillar, go this way, stand behind. It wasn't that for 15 minutes, because that's boring. That's World of Warcraft raiding in a nutshell. WildStar raiding is pretty much going to be broken down into, you have your first initial pull, and then all hell breaks loose. Mobs are doing all this crazy stuff. The mini boss that we got to actually fight was just fantastic, and it allows you to really see who is good at the game and who is bad at the game, and that was actually really fun. It was really fun to see that all the time that you invested into your hero or your avatar, whatever you want to call it, is paid off because you know exactly what to do. And it's really fun finding different things that you can do to improve your DPS and all that fun stuff. So I think the overall aspect of raiding in WildStar is fantastic, and it's done very well. It's just a lot of the bugs make it very, very frustrating because it's not your fault that you're actually doing poorly. It's the game's fault, and it's just a slew of other things that's beyond your control, and that's really frustrating. So I know that this was kind of a, sure, we'll call it a negative episode. I don't really care. I'm just being honest with my thoughts here, and that's what this show's about. If you don't like it, I don't care. Don't listen. And I feel that a lot of the negativity does have merit, but I think that raiding in the end game is fantastic and some of the best that I've actually experienced in probably the last 7 years. And I think that Carbine is only going to move forward from here and do really well. I know that they have said a lot that Drop 3 is going to change the game dramatically, and they have a lot of systems and stuff coming into play, and that's awesome. I really, really hope that they can do this, and Drop 3 will actually solidify their place in the MMO market as the game to beat next to World of Warcraft, because you guys can certainly do that. The combat system is fantastic. The LAS system is fantastic. And the overall look of the game is fantastic. The art's awesome. The lore is just really, really good. The music is awesome. The PvP is awesome when it's not, completely broken. And I'm looking forward to all the changes and all the improvements that you guys have down the pipeline. But in terms of making it actually happen, you guys need to step it up, because you guys are just not doing good at that part. And putting in changes needs to stop breaking things. So that's all for this week's episode, guys. I know that sometimes people don't want to hear that, the kind of honest part of people's feedback, but I think it's all in terms of how you present it and making sure that you do acknowledge that Carbine is trying, and you do acknowledge that they are doing a good job, and is as good a job as they are able to, and their communication has gotten 100 times better, and they're slowly going back to what they should have done and kept doing when the game launched and as the game was being launched. Because as I said before, if they stop being open and honest with us and not communicating, the game's going to die. And it almost did, because they stopped that. And now they're starting to get back to the communication, the transparency, and the community's starting to go, okay, cool. We get it now. We're willing to wait, Carbine. And I can't stress that enough. Be open and honest, and you guys will go far. But that's all, guys. God bless. Have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, and I'll see you guys in Nexus and Guard.